It's time for the Miller's Edge with 4-time SEC champion and 2-time national champion Christian Miller.
Once again with Christian Miller taking him down.
Here's college football playoff national champion Christian Miller on Tide 100.9 and 12:30 a.m. WTBC.
And welcome into this Talking Tuesday edition of the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 12:30 WTBC. Hope you guys are doing well. Hope you guys are ready to talk some football practice. I guess this would be what, number 5, officially, I guess, concluded right now. 11 o'clock is pretty much the time that they finish up with over in Mount Moore, those practice facilities over there. They have returned to the practice field. So we're going to talk some Alabama football today for sure. And you guys already know how we do on a Talking Tuesday. We're joined by Clint Lamb of Cover Crimson at the top of the hour. So we will have Clint joining us to do that. I know a lot of people are eager to kind of get back to that conversation. We've been talking about it plenty, but had that week off with spring break. Now we got practice officially back, which is always great. So we'll talk about it. We'll discuss it, see if there's any things coming out of practice from day number 5 as they hit the ground running and gear up for Chase, what we're all excited about. A regular A Day that's coming up here on April 11th, right? So we're about, I don't know what, like 2.5 weeks away, something like that, almost 3 weeks away, but it's right around the corner. And the good news is, like we talked about yesterday, officially has been announced that it will return to its original format, back to a 2-hour scrimmage. So I know a lot of people are fired up about that. We mentioned it yesterday, but I don't think we really put enough emphasis on it. Yes, A Day is officially back to being a scrimmage like we all, grew to love in the past, right? Had a little bit of a different format last year, but we are back to the original, which kind of jumped the gun on that one. Kind of just was going off of what I had heard and their little, I guess, I don't know, their countdown thing. So kind of already knew it was going to happen like this, but now that they've officially made it official, it feels even better because you never know what can come up. Allegedly, Coach DeBoer said last year it was due to injuries, not so much the availability or the poaching risk, I guess. And he said that wasn't it. It was more so injury. So was kind of waiting to see how that whole thing would play out. And it seems like they're healthy enough to do it, according to head coach Kaleb Edwards. So that's what's going to happen. Now, the next big question that everybody's been asking and trying to figure out, okay, we got the format back, but what does that mean for us folks that can't necessarily go and attend it ourselves? Well, unfortunately, that is going to stay the same as it was last year. It will not be televised. I don't know if they have any other plans for maybe a stream or something like that. I don't know if they're going to have, means for folks that aren't in attendance to see the scrimmage. It sounds like that's probably not going to happen. I guess anything could happen at this point, but I do know in terms of it being televised, right? Like, just being able to turn on the TV and watch it, that will not be a thing this season. So if you do want to see A Day, you're going to have to come attend it, which should make the event itself better. Now, I hate it because it's unfortunate for all the folks that, live out of state or out of the area, don't have the means to be able to come travel down here to watch it. But the fact it is that, there's going to be plenty of people recording stuff. So I'm sure you'll get plenty of clips, right? And I'm sure maybe some people might. I don't know. Chase, do you think it's legal to stream A Day if someone's like in attendance? Maybe, I don't know, if they just have Facebook pulled up. Is that legal? Can you do that? Do you know?
At this day and age, I haven't seen anybody get in trouble. I know when I went last year, Christian, I did see some people like live streaming it, and some of the security guards saw it, but they didn't really budge about it. So I guess it is legal, but I guess with it being a 2-hour scrimmage, they may be a little bit more stricter than they are in past times since Kaleb DeBoer has been the head coach.
Yeah, I'm curious about that. I know that the scrimmages that they hold, which are clearly private, they always have, like, they put a message on, like the jumbotrons or the big scoreboards in there that literally says, please no photos or videos, which makes total sense. Those are closed scrimmages. It's not open to the public. But I don't know, with A Day, I'm just trying to think, what about a football game, Chase? So like if you go attend a football game, no one can tell you not to stream it, right? Because everybody has their phones out, their cameras out. They're taking pictures, they're taking videos. But I mean, is there a rule against streaming, even like a football game? Say you just attend a regular season football game. Have you ever heard of anything like that? I mean, I feel like people can go on TikTok Live or Instagram Live and stream. I don't think there's any rules against it. So to my understanding, I'm sure you could probably do something like that, which maybe one of our listeners or somebody. I'm sure there'll be somebody in attendance that will end up trying to stream it. But I already threw out my idea, and it involves, maybe being a member of Yay Alabama, right? Can't say too much because I got to stop giving away these great ideas that I come up with. But I do think they could probably come up with something that way you could help, I guess reward the fans or give them something to watch, because that is unfortunate for all. There's Alabama fans are all over the place, and they got used to being able to see their team play their spring game on ESPN, just turning on the channel, kicking back and watching it. But that won't be an option, unfortunately, this year. But I'm sure there'll be plenty of content. The good news is it is back to being a scrimmage, so we can at least kind of watch these guys in that game-like format and kind of get an idea on what this 2026 football team can, could, would, or should be. We'll have to see. All that is to be determined. We've been talking about it plenty. Yesterday, we were joined by Brooks Austin, the film guy. Big thanks to him joining us here on the show. Some really good stuff. We didn't get into too many breakdowns. I know you guys love the breakdown stuff, and as you're doing live radio, it's hard to really do that completely, but hopefully we can get him back on there at some point and really dive into some more breakdown stuff. But I know you guys enjoyed it. I enjoyed having him on here, and look forward to doing it here in the near future again, and probably a little bit more breakdown the second time around. But we'll keep you guys posted if he ever jumps back on here anytime soon. But in terms of what we got planned, like you mentioned earlier, we got Clint Lamb at the top of the hour. We'll talk all things Alabama football, and then we'll definitely kind of dive into week number 2 of spring practice, kind of what we want to see, what we're expecting to see, and what we might have seen with the first day back today. A lot of conversations about that offensive line. We talked about that with Brooks last year. He made an interesting point. We talked about it with him yesterday, talking about the group from last year. But he made an interesting point talking about personnel. We always hear that, but he seems to be under the belief that, hey, they're working towards getting the right guys on that offensive line to do the things that they want to do in the run game, and he thinks that could have a great effect. I'm one of the people, Chase, I hear it, I see it, but to me, I just don't know if I fully believe that just yet. Now, and I'll explain a little bit later why. Some guys, yes. I mean, like we talked about Jackson Lloyd, I do think he kind of fits that build and that stature that they might have had more of at Washington. I do agree with that. But then also some of the portal guys that they did bring in don't necessarily fit that stature. So to me, I'm kind of like, I don't know if that's 100% the equation that they're going for. I don't know. We'll have to see how it all comes together. But definitely we'll have some more answers as spring football progresses, as we continue to roll. And we'll keep talking about that here on the show. 205-342-9904. We always invite you guys to get in on the conversation, especially on a Talking Tuesday. We got Clint at the top of the hour, but until then, we'll open the phone lines. If you guys want to jump in, got any questions, anything you want to talk about, Alabama football related, basketball, you got March Madness going on, whatever the case may be, we always encourage you guys and invite you guys to jump in on the conversations. You also can download that Tide 100.9 app completely free on any smartphone or smart device, and you can listen to this show, other shows, wherever you're at. It is worldwide. Plus, you can always easily leave your questions, comments, concerns in the form of an app message, which I promise we'll read some more of those. Trust me, I'm still following up with them. Sometimes we get app messages and they're not really like questions that we'll read. It's just kind of a response. But I promise we do we do read the app messages. And if you have any questions, you can always drop them there. We'll probably talk a little bit more draft conversation as well, as Pro Day is tomorrow. I was getting my days mixed up a little bit. I was bouncing back and forth whether it's Tuesday or Wednesday. It is officially tomorrow. So really excited about that. We got a number of guys that will be participating in it, and a number of guys that definitely are looking to improve their draft stock. One guy, Chase, at this point, man, it seems like his draft stock's in a pretty damn good position. Ty Simpson, we talk about it every single day, but right now there's a huge conversation going on. We had heard a lot. Dan Orlovsky, I feel like, talks about Ty Simpson like every other day. Now you got people bringing up the fact that they both are under CAA, which is agency. There could be a little bit of influence there. Wouldn't be shocked if there's some slight influence. But nonetheless, I do think Dan Orlovsky really just likes Ty Simpson's tape, and it makes sense. We heard from Brooks Austin yesterday. He said the same thing. And he framed it pretty interesting. And I have to agree, it makes sense when you look at Ty Simpson and Fernando Mendoza, the top 2 quarterbacks, or the perceived top 2 quarterbacks in this upcoming NFL draft, which is really only about a month away from today. Here's what it boils down to for those guys. You got a guy in Ty Simpson that was doing a lot of pro leaning things in college in terms of, the command of the offense, pre-snap, dealings that a quarterback has to operate under, the reads, right? even his drops. I mean, everything was very pro-esque, right? So a lot of people do feel strongly about his transition to the next level. He comes from the family of a head coach, longtime head coach in college football. I mean, he checks all these boxes, Chase, especially for a guy that plays the quarterback position. Now, there's also going to be some I guess you want maybe negatives, cons, whatever you want to classify it as. But you look at it like, I think one of the big ones, they talk about his stature, which, really, if he didn't have the injury history from this past season, I don't think that would be as big of a deal. It's kind of crazy. I mean, we went from worrying about a guy being like 5'9", 5'10", and now Ty is legit like pushing 6'1", and people are questioning, is he big enough? I'm not too worried about that. Just like when people were freaking out about Bryce Young's size and stature, I was one of the people that said, listen, man, if he was playing at the University of Alabama in the SEC and doing what he did and won a Heisman in college, I think he'll be just fine, even though, yes, the NFL is the next step up, but I think he'll adjust and adapt. And that's exactly what you've seen out of Bryce Young. So I don't get too concerned with the whole, Ty might be a little too undersized until you start throwing in, yes, he was banged up this past season. And could that be related to him being a little undersized? I mean, one could argue that, but to me, if that's one of your biggest flags, is that and the lack of experience. I believe he only has 15 starts going into this NFL draft. To me, those aren't too bad of quote unquote red flags. But looking at Mendoza, like Brooks talked about yesterday, he questions, can Mendoza, get adjusted to that pro style offense? He wasn't asked to do a whole bunch of it. The system he came from really kind of was tailored to him. It took care of him, right? Less reads. There's less responsibility on him as a quarterback than a guy like Ty Simpson in our offense. To me, it makes sense, right? That you have those questions, but I think we're in that time, Chase, where everything's kind of like, all right, we're just trying to nitpick every little detail. And I think we're kind of getting a little bit lost in the sauce here. I think both guys are really good quarterbacks. I'm not too sold on saying Ty Simpson is the number one quarterback just yet. As much as I like Ty, I think the problem is when you look at Fernando Mendoza, he might not have all those same elite throws that you've seen out of Ty, but you're talking about a dude who, I mean, listen, just because he wasn't necessarily asked to do it in college, I just think as smart as he is, man, I think he's going to adjust just fine. And I don't think you should probably overly lean into that. Like, oh, can we rely on this guy making that adjustment? If anybody, I think he'll be the one that maybe didn't have to do it in college, but will be capable of doing it in the NFL. And in terms of some of those throws, man, listen, he might, during the course of the year, I guess the tape is a little like, it's not blow you away. But if you watch him in the postseason and when he had that gauntlet and he was playing against the Ohio States in the Big Ten championship and lining up against all the teams in the college football playoffs, man, I mean, he was playing on another level. So I don't know, interesting conversation. So maybe we'll keep talking about that a little bit more. And I got an interesting thing to bring up too when we come back, man. I don't know if you guys watch this, but flag football was the talk of this weekend. And I actually watched some of those games. I'm curious to get y'all's thoughts if you guys did too as well. Right here on the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC. It's a Talking Tuesday here on the show. Look forward to talking with you guys when we come back after this quick timeout. Don't go anywhere. What's up, guys? Who we got in here? Flossie, what's up? Are we hearing from coaches today? Good question. I don't know if they had media availability post-practice. Let me look at the schedule real quick. Let me see. I don't know if I saw it on there, but I can confirm. Let me see. What's the 24th? Yeah, they got some. So we won't hear from coaches, but we got player interviews right now. So we'll get some player interviews. Great. I'm glad you brought that up. I wasn't even sure. I didn't look at the schedule. All right, good deal. Reed, I appreciate it, man. I feel like Pro Day will help Nikhai Hill-Green tremendously. He should have been invited to the combine. Yeah, it definitely, I mean, since he wasn't at the combine, that's definitely going to be his opportunity to show, the underwear Olympics, what he can do. But no, all seriousness, I like Nikhai. I think he's a great football player, and I think he can definitely do a lot of good stuff on at the next level. terms of him not being invited to the combine, I mean, unfortunately, there's only so many spots, right? And you had Deontay Lawson invited, Justin Jefferson invited. I mean, having 3 linebackers invited from one school is just, I mean, that's tough, you know. So it's unfortunate, but pro day he can go, show out. I'll be honest with you, man. I mean, combine is important, but I mean, you can always go turn heads at pro day, and at the end of the day, I mean, tape is what matters the most. Pro day and combine is really just to check boxes. If I'm being honest with you, like no, there's hardly any guys that really go to the combine or go to pro day and just magically like increase their draft stock significantly. Now it's beneficial for a guy like him because, he was a little bit of a journeyman. He came here, didn't initially really start. He kind of was in the rotation and he played a lot of good football for us. So somebody like that, it definitely helps out. But a lot of these, I mean, I would say a lot of the top prospects, man. And when I say top prospects, I would say like top 100, top 150 guys. I wouldn't say like their combine performance or pro day performance necessarily really moves the needle a whole bunch. If anything, it really is what we've always said, just to check boxes, right? Like unless you really turn heads. For example, like the quarterback from Arkansas, like Taylor Green, is that his name? Whatever his name is. He probably had one of the best combines. Not probably. He had one of the best combine performances of any quarterback of all time. He's not going to skyrocket into being like a first round pick, but he might have been viewed as a, I don't know, 5th, 6th round guy before that. And maybe a team drafts him a round or 2 earlier based off potential because he had such an explosive combine. But a lot of other guys, I mean, it's not going to do a whole bunch. Tape is going to be the most important thing. Measurables, they pay a lot of attention to. Backseat coaches. Wait, hold on. I got to read the other ones. Hold on. We're coming back here now. And welcome back into this Talking Tuesday. This is the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC. We're going to dive into some Alabama football spring practice talk here in a minute, but we'll wait a little bit closer to when we get Clint Lamb on the phone lines at the top of the hour, who will join us like he does every Tuesday. And we appreciate him doing that. We look forward to talking with him here in a moment. But real quick, I want to throw this out there. I forgot to mention this yesterday, and I was just curious if anybody else caught this. Reed, did you watch the flag football fanatics, I don't know, invitational or whatever the whole name was? Did you watch that this weekend?
Christian, I did not, but I did see a few clips here and there. I think the one specific one that I believe came to mind was when Hurts threw a go ball down to Smitty toward the end zone. But outside of that, no, I did not.
Man, I'll say this. It was actually going on this weekend. I was literally cleaning. I reset for a second, but I think we're good. I was just cleaning my house, man, and I got Hulu on my phone, and I was looking just to throw some on and like background noise, and I was like, wait, flag football championship. I'm like, what is this? Then I remembered, I was like, oh, I remember hearing about them doing something like this. And I'll say this, man, it was a lot more entertaining than I kind of expected. Now, for those of you that don't really know the backstory on it, you've got Team USA, which, they've been competing as Team USA, if I'm not mistaken, in like tournaments and stuff, because this would be, then 2028 would be the first time it's in the Olympics. But I think they've been representing on behalf of the USA in other tournaments and events. But anyway, it was them. Then there was 2 teams that consisted of, former and current NFL players and a couple non-football players. I mean, I think I Show Speed, YouTuber was there. Logan Paul, who now is in WWE, we all know that, but YouTube sensation. I want to say Bud Crawford, the boxer, was also participating. But anyway, they clearly did it for, I think they were trying to, number one, see kind of who they're going to end up going with as, I guess, the team to compete in the Olympics in 2028. But also they wanted to get some eyes and attention. That's why they had a number of just random people. Hell, my former teammate, Luke Kuechly, who just got inducted in the Hall of Fame, was out there playing. So, I mean, it was cool kind of seeing guys. And like in one of the first games, Tom Brady came down and him and Gronk had a connection. And I think they had like a touchdown. And then like the 2-point conversion, Gronk, of course, pulls his hamstring because he slipped trying to get up. But it was kind of cool and nostalgic seeing that. You mentioned Jalen Hurts and other guys were out there. OBJ, who we haven't seen step foot on an NFL field, and I want to say he said like December of 2024, man. He looked good, man. He had a hell of a catch in one of the earlier games. But I bring this up because it kind of had me thinking, I'm like, man, like, I don't know if you guys saw the results, but Team USA, which again consists of a bunch of small, really athletic guys, but guys that specifically play flag football, they legit beat both the NFL teams, like blew them out by, I mean, I don't know. I think the first two games they played, it was like 80. They outscored the NFL teams like 80 something and like 20 something. It was a beatdown in both games. And it just goes to show you, man, it's a totally different sport. Like flag football and tackle football is a totally different sport. And I know there is some John and these guys are definitely prideful. They probably felt a little disrespected because I think the thought process was, you know, when the Olympics come in 2028, oh, they're just going to, you know, snag all the top NFL players. But these guys, they had something to prove. And I think they did just that. They went undefeated in the quote unquote, you know, short little tournament. Again, it really just three teams and they kind of all were playing amongst each other. But ultimately they never lost. I want to say they scored on every single possession except one. And man, they put on a clinic, man. I have to pull up some clips, man. But if you guys haven't seen it, I would urge you to kind of go back and just check it out. Cause it was very interesting. But again, and I know some people are like, man, why would NFL guys sign up for that to be embarrassed on TV? But I don't think it was embarrassing at all. Cause the reality was, a lot of them weren't really like, I wouldn't say they weren't going maximum effort, but you could tell, number one, some of the current guys were clearly probably trying to protect themselves, right? I mean, who wants to go out there and, you know, fool around and get hurt while they're playing flag football for an event? And then some of the guys, you know, like retired guys, I mean, clearly, this is what I would say. And if you guys saw it, you would understand why I'm saying this. I don't think we really, you know, picked the best NFL representatives to go out there and really compete with these guys, which to be fair, the NFL guys are really, I think they had maybe like a couple of days to try to learn this stuff and these rules. I mean, it's totally different, right? It's not just what you think, oh, just flag football we used to play back in the day. I mean, it is, but it's a little bit more strict. But I say all that to say, I was like, man, if we would have got like, I think Kyler Murray, because this is what I learned, man. Like we brought in like, you know, Tom Brady, Jalen Hurts, Joe Burrow, Jaden Daniels, all really good quarterbacks. They throw the ball great. But outside of really, you know, Jaden Daniels and Hurts a little bit, which I think Jalen Hurts, I mean, to be fair, I mean, Jalen's mobile, but he's not like as mobile as some people might just assume. If you watch the way these guys played, man, like they're like running around in circles. They have all these like toss backs and they're doing all this crazy stuff. I think if you would have had a team with like Kyler Murray, what I'm getting at is like guys that like are built for this. I think like Kyler Murray, Jahmyr Gibbs, I think Alvin Kamara might have been there, but like those types of players, I think if you just build a team fully based off of those players, I think we would have saw a little bit different result. But the problem is the way it works is you got one rusher and he takes off like when the ball snaps. So you got somebody screaming at you. And these guys, like they've been doing this consistently. So they literally like full speed ahead. I mean, they're like targeting the flag. If you don't have some real juice to you, oh man, you're cooked, man. You don't have any time to throw. And they definitely proved their point, man. So I say all this to say, if you haven't seen it, maybe go check it out, or at least the highlights. I'll throw them on the screen during the break so you guys can watch a little bit. It was very interesting. But two, I'm not gonna lie. If I was the one making the decision on who we're going to send to represent the U.S. in flag football in 2028, I mean, listen, I know we didn't have the best NFL guys that we probably could have chosen for this specific sport, but I don't see why you don't. I mean, listen, those flag football guys, man, they're in a league of their own when it comes to this. Like that's literally what they do. And I'll be honest with you, if you're just picking NFL guys to take their spots, I kind of feel bad for them because they clearly showed that they're literally much better than them in this sport. Now, if we flip the tables, it's a totally different ball game because a lot of these guys are small. And you throw on some pads, yeah, now the NFL guys are in their element. But this whole flag football thing, I just was shocked, right? Just to put a bow on it. I was shocked that it was like a beat down the way it was. Because in my head, I'm like, man, I'm thinking like our receivers they'll route these guys up. You know, you got Nuke Hopkins, you got Stephon Diggs. Like, we can kind of march down the field even though it's flag. I mean, hell, we do 7-on-7, right? Like, it can't be that much different than 7-on-7. But boy, was I wrong, and they were too, clearly, because them dudes, man, like Calvin just said in the chat, like shifty speed. I saw one dude, I don't even know how he did it. He like dropped to a knee, like while he was running. I mean, these guys were like, I don't know, man, impressive athletes. But I could just tell. I know the NFL guys are getting frustrated because they're competitive, man. And then you got these little guys. I mean, they're not big, and they're just flag football players who, again, in pads, could not do half the stuff that the NFL guys do. But they went into their world, and I think Team USA really showed why they really deserve a shot. So anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there because I thought it was interesting. I was curious if anybody else got to see it this past weekend, but some really, really interesting stuff. We got to hit a timeout. When we come back, we keep on rolling. We'll keep the conversation going. 205-342-9904 is the number to the program if you guys want to get in on the conversation. We got Clint Lamb of Cover Crimson joining us at the top of the hour, and we keep on rolling right here on the Miller's Edge. Tide 100.9, 1230, WTBC.
At Mercedes.
Who do I have at WrestleMania? Punk or Roman, Cody or Randy? Oh man. Man. Let me think on that. I mean, I feel like Roman wins for sure. Could be wrong, but I feel like Roman wins. I'll take Roman, and I would probably say Randy's going to beat Cody. I feel like if you're going, I mean, I feel like they probably should have gave Randy the belt a minute ago. And I just feel like the longer they wait, you're probably going to pass by that opportunity. So I would probably say Roman, and I'm going to go R&R, like our folks over at R&R Cigars. I'm going to go Roman and Randy, man. But I'll be honest, man, wrestling just been a little stale past couple months. I just, excuse me, I don't know, man. It's just been a little stale for me. It's been a little stale. But I like that they're finally like Oba has completely just, taken the main roster by storm, man. And I'm glad they're not messing that up. Now let me knock on some wood because I mean, Lord knows. Lord knows, but I love what they're doing with Oba and Brock. I mean, I think that'll be big. I mean, he's about as good as it gets, man. A little bit different technique in flag football. You can't just run over. You got to use certain moves, similar to smaller guys help. Yeah, no, I agree. But still, I mean, I don't know, man. The other thing that was annoying me was I wouldn't say it was like our guys weren't really giving a lot of effort, but like defensively, like I know there's a lot of like, pitching back and stuff. Let me pull up these. I'm going to show you guys. But I just felt like our guys, I'm like, come on, man. Like if you see, and I know it's confusing, but I'm like, you got to pick up on it at some point. All right, so a dude catches the ball. He tosses it back real quick. I know your attention naturally just shifts. I'm going to go pursue the guy at the football now. But like they keep doing this thing where they toss it back, and then the guy that just tossed it immediately just takes off. Nobody will be covering them. And I mean, it happened like over and over, man. It just kept happening. So at some point I was like, bro, we got to do something.
Oh my goodness. God.
This is all I was talking about that dude was like on a knee, man.
Zabian Brown is going to make a move. Gosh, he's so quick. Look at these moves from Brown.
I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. Like that is crazy. That's crazy. Now, maybe even tackle football. Listen, I'm not saying these little shifty guys, I mean, they could probably go return some kicks. They could probably do something. Don't get me wrong. But yeah, trying to pull a dude's flag who's literally doing like, playing limbo like this. I mean, we talk about shin angles and ankle flexibility. I mean, like these dudes are on a whole different level, guys. I mean, that's crazy.
Gets down to his knee.
But yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of stuff like that.
Here's Barkley's first touch. Burrow can run if he wants. Going to throw it for the end zone. Hopkins is down there. DeAndre Hopkins.
Nuke Hopkins doing Nuke Hopkins things, man. He was teammates with Brandon Clear, who joins us on Thursday, man. But anyway, if you haven't go watch the clips from it, guys. It was entertaining. And welcome back into this Talking Tuesday edition of the Miller's Edge. Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC. Again, Alabama football return to practice today. First one in about a little over a week, right? Last one was Friday of the week prior, before those guys headed out to spring break. But now they've hit the ground running. We will hear from some players. I forgot to remind you guys, and shout out to, I think it was it maybe Calvin or somebody else in the chat, but players are speaking to the media post practice. So we will go try to find some of those clips. Dwight, man, you're on clip control, man. You always find those. So while I'm talking, if you want to do that, man, as soon as you see those, we'll pull them up and we'll listen to them. I'm not 100% sure if it's both offensive and defensive players. I just know the media notes mentioned players will be speaking to the media today. So whoever we've got scheduled, whoever we got posted, we will take a listen to and get their thoughts and updates on the latest spring practice. But Reed, since you're behind the glass, man, I hadn't talked to you in a minute. The camera's off, so I can't see you. But when you get that working, man, we'll get you on the stream to come hang out. Tell me, man, going into week 2, anything that you're looking for specifically, anything that you really wanted to pay attention to or hope to hear coming out of week 2 Alabama football spring practice?
Well, first thing, Christian, is that, there was no off the field issues. All right. I hope everyone had a great spring break. I know I for sure
That's
did.
a good point.
But, I think staying out of trouble is the number one. And obviously outside of that, also just making sure everyone is healthy as well. There was no off the field kind of injuries, like something were to unfortunately happen. But no, I just really really looking ahead to, like you were saying earlier before I got here, about the A-Day, going back to a scrimmage rather than a practice. Looking forward to that. And it's going to be competitive. So I'm just glad it's going back to the format that it was 2 years ago.
Yeah, absolutely. And shout out to Dwight, man. He's so quick on it. So he did tag us in some of those player interviews. Looks like we had Zabian Brown, so a member of the defense, and we also had Kaleb Edwards, who I know is looking to take the next step, have an expanded role in this offense. And the more I think about it, man, I'm excited to see what he can do. Now, last year, in terms of in the run game, he definitely struggled, right? Which, listen, he was a freshman. I think, an off-season, workout program definitely should have benefited him tremendously. And I think if he can take that next step in that aspect of his game, right, being a little bit more physical at the point of attack, being able to block better in the run game. We all know his ability in the passing game. I mean, he's very reliable. He's got a great frame on him. I think he's definitely going to be a big weapon for whoever wins the quarterback battle. But I would love to see him take that next step as a blocker. But we'll probably listen to him. I don't know how long these clips are, but we also got Zabian Brown. But let's go ahead and jump into that. Let's do that. Let's hear from a player real quick, since they already spoke and we got it uploaded. Shout out to Dwight. Let's start with my side of the ball first, though. Let's start with some defense. We got Zabian Brown speaking to the media, a guy who is widely regarded as one of the best defensive backs in the country, without a doubt. And I think this dude is going to have a major impact on this defense. We talked about him a little bit with Brooks Austin, the film guy, yesterday. So without further ado, let's jump on over to Mal Moore and hear from some of the players post practice number 5 of week number 2 spring practice. And first up, we got Zabian Brown.
My family, get some work in, see the beach. It was nice.
What is spring practice? How has this felt different as kind of one of your own?
Yeah, I would say, our third year really like being around coaching staff and stuff like that. It's a lot more energy. It's a lot more like detail and, scheme and stuff like that. So it's been good.
Talked with Dijon last week about, kind of the size in the room with the addition of Carmelo, things like that. What have you seen from him on the practice field?
Carmelo?
Yeah.
So Carmelo's a dog. He uses his size to his advantage. He moves around really well, and I can't wait to just see how everybody keep progressing.
Which one of your teammates has surprised you with the progress they've made in the offseason?
I think Dijon Lee really stepped forward, and I've seen his game really develop, and he's starting to produce a lot more, I would say.
What do you notice from the incoming freshmen?
They're all locked in. I see a lot of good things from everybody.
Any one of them stand out? Any one of them surprise you in any way?
My roommates in the dorm is Jira and Jordan. So, those guys, they work hard, they leave early. Being around them, they move right.
What's the biggest piece of advice, since you're roommates with him, do you kind of spread on him of how to contribute early?
Right. I think, just focus, dedication, maximizing the hours and time in your day. It's kind of just a little, like I shared on them.
How does he move for a guy of his size? He's pretty built.
Oh, Jara?
Jara, yeah.
Shit, he moves amazing to me. I mean, I think all the freshmen, you know, they moving around good, put on size, speed. I think everybody's progressing at a good time.
Do you see any similarities in those two than yourself as a freshman?
Oh, for sure. Just mentally, you know, we all on the same page. We go chill, talk, stuff like that. It's nice having guys like that in the building.
What is it like being in a room that has this much talent? I mean, this is a pretty stacked group. I mean, does it kind of push you guys to be even better with so much competition everywhere?
Absolutely, and just being able to learn from the guys around me, around each other, learning from each other. Hey, what'd you see on this rep? How'd you do this? Like, just, you know, tapping into the mental side of the game, I feel like is the biggest advantage, having a lot of guys in the room.
We always talk to you guys about, like, what are you passing down to the younger players? Is there ever a moment where they do something where you learn off of them, maybe?
Oh, for sure. I'll ask Jordan about a rep he had, or, you know, just something like that. And if you're humble, you should be able to take in information from anybody.
You're one of the leaders now on the defense. What's the biggest place you want to see the defense take a step forward this year?
I would just say, you know, communication. I feel like communication leads to production at the end of the day, takeaways, punches on the ball, stuff like that.
You're a strong second-year cornerback. What do you think Dijon is capable of in his second year of the program?
Sure, I think the sky's the limit for a guy like Dijon. You know, he, like I said earlier, start everything. Like, I really feel like really starting to glue together, and I can't wait to play with him this year.
Is it weird to look around and kind of be the old guy in the cornerback room now?
It's a little bit of a change, but, you know, I embrace it. I have fun with everybody. You know, I try my best to just be present, and yeah.
What's your defensive back's perspective on the quarterback competition so far?
It's not really something we think about too much. You know, pay attention to formations, personnel, receivers, stuff like that. But, you know, we really just focus on, you know, getting the grasp, and, you know, we only in practice 5, so yeah.
You're not trying to make it challenging on the two new guys, on the two quarterbacks.
Oh, 100%. But in terms of, you know, their skill level, we just focus on us really.
What was your reaction whenever you heard that both Bray and Keon were coming back to the secondary?
So I'm grateful. You know, being able to play with guys like that, it's truly a blessing. It made my job life a lot easier. Just having the guys who've been around the program for a long time, got their heads screwed on. You know, I learned a lot from both of those guys, so I'm really grateful that they came back.
With both of them coming back, you coming back, Dijon another year older, do you feel like you guys have one of the best secondaries in the country?
You know, I think we're extremely talented. I think we have a lot in front of us this year.
What are your thoughts on the young wide receivers like Sadarian Morgan, or have any of those guys, I guess, challenge you as a cornerback in practice?
Absolutely. I mean, really, our whole receiver room, they're deep. We got guys, they got a lot of tools in their bag, and they bring their hundreds to practice every day. So they make us better, to make us work, compete, and I feel like that's what being at Bama is all about.
Do you see anything different from Ryan Coleman-Williams this spring?
True. To me, he just the guy. I've always looked at him like that. I think, you know, he got a tremendous amount ahead of him this year, and I can't wait to watch him.
How have you seen a guy like Chuck McDonald kind of make progress since he got on campus?
Yeah, Chuck, you know, that's my guy, especially coming from high school and stuff like that. And I'm really proud of Chuck, you know, how he just keep progressing, keep his head down, don't really say too much, just he's a guy that just loves to work.
You're talking about getting, taking something from somebody else.
One more time?
Talking about you take something, you see somebody do something, you talk to them about it.
Right.
Could you give me a specific example of that, maybe?
Might just be like somebody press rep, you know, just the way they get hands on somebody, or just a certain movement, ask them about that, like what they seen to make them do that and stuff like that. Just being able to pick up tools from other people who add to my game.
Does it happen so often that there's not one that stands out, or?
I mean, sure, I could say it happens every practice, honestly. You know, just it's a plethora of talented guys around our room. If you can't learn from each other, then you're probably not doing something right.
Is your bracket busted?
Huh?
Is your bracket busted? Your NCAA tournament bracket?
Oh, I don't really pay attention to basketball like that. Yeah.
for you, like going into year 3, is there maybe a specific area you're kind of focused on improving this offseason going into the fall?
Not really. I feel like I'm just, focused on just day by day right now, just maximizing my day, maximizing my hours, and getting through that part.
What's the biggest challenge in maximizing your day?
I would definitely say consistency, because not every day is the same. You got to do different classes, different stuff each day, and just being able to work around that, and how can I be productive this 30 minutes, this hour, just fitting that stuff in.
All right, so there you have it. That was Alabama cornerback Zabian Brown. Now, like somebody said in the chat, man, a little bit of coach speaking, keeping things close to the vest, but nothing wrong with that. I'll say this: he definitely strikes me as a guy. He's focused on work, and they got some guys that enjoy being in front of the cameras, and they want to share and spill all the beans and talk about it every this, that, and the third. Then you got some guys like Zabian that they just locked in on being the best player that they can be and going to work each and every single day. And ain't nothing wrong with that. He's good in my book. But yeah, I was about to say, and to be fair, I think if you get a little bit more, a lot of the questions are always kind of like, oh, what do you think about this guy? I think if you had questions that pertain a little bit more kind of like, hey man, you played a lot of man, year 1, and last year you guys went to a lot more zone. I mean, how do you guys, see this scheme maybe changing some, or what do you guys prefer on the back? I think stuff like that will get these guys to open. That's why I like getting them on the show here, because you can tell, like, when you have like football conversations, they open up a little bit more. And I get it; it's kind of hard for some guys to be able to do that. But to be fair, it's not easy. But anyway, we got to hit a timeout. We come back. We keep rolling. We'll hear from Kaleb Edwards, and we'll keep rolling with some of these player interviews. And at the top of the hour, we got Clint Lamb of Cover Crimson right here on the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC. You like Zabian in zone coverage? I mean, I'll be honest with you. I feel what you're saying, but he's one of the guys that he's a lockdown corner. If anything, if you go back and watch Auburn, I mean, he locked down Cam Coleman. They're playing some man in that game, a good bit of man, and he did his thing, man. Press man, off man. I mean, he had really good. I mean, I just saw. It's funny you mentioned. I just saw some clips of him. It might have been on Instagram or something like that, but I mean, it was like teach tape, man. I mean, dude is a really talented corner. But yeah, I know in zone, I feel like he's very instinctual. I mean, for a guy that's like 6'1", I mean, he's got good length for a corner. He definitely can fit in any scheme, right? He could fit in the zone scheme, a man scheme. I think he's that, and that's what makes him, really good. He's going to be a top draft pick without a doubt. I mean, his coverage ability alone. I mean, he's a dog. He's physical and run support. I like Zabian Brown a lot. I would say, if we're talking about best players on this team, or even just focusing on defense, I mean, Yonze Pierre is a easy choice, given that he's the leading returning pass rusher guy that you're expecting to even take another step forward. But I would not count out a guy like Zabian Brown. He just kind of has that DNA about him that reminds me of a lot of the good corners that I played with. Marlon Humphreys, the Pat Surtains, I feel like he's kind of in that mold. And I mean, from a stature standpoint, I mean, you check that box, 6'1", great length, can play man, can play zone. He's physical. That's normally a problem with a lot of corners. Very fluid, runs really well, even though he is a little bit bigger for a corner. I mean, I don't really see too many negatives about the guy, honestly. I mean, not to glaze or anything, just being honest, man. Day 1 draft pick. Oh, I mean, there's no question about that. I mean, I would say this guy, I mean, depending on the season that he has. Now, there's some other corners in college football that I mean, I definitely would say are, in the running for being like that dude. But I mean, there's just not many boxes that I don't think he just doesn't check, And he's been locked in since day 1. Yeah, I mean, since he got here, I remember, coaches were really high on him, and all of them kind of said that same thing. I mean, this guy's like beyond his years. I mean, he might not be saying a whole bunch when he's in front of a microphone, which you can just tell. I think he's one of these guys, he don't really rock with the media like that. I hate to say it. I don't really blame him too much, because sometimes, man, it just feels like you're just sitting in front of sitting in front of people, and you're kind of like it depends on the questions, right? Like that's why I think it's so important. Like if you're going to go interview guys, like I always urge media people, right? Like do homework, not like on like, oh, who do you think is standing out? Like that, like I just know from when I was a player, like those kind of like little like ice cream questions and stuff, like they get kind of annoying. Like with all due respect, no offense, I'm just being honest. But like if somebody were to start talking like football to me, like it would bring me out my show. Cause I'll be honest, I know I sit in front of here, but like naturally I'm a very reserved person. I hated talking to the media. Hated it. And it didn't help when it was like questions that I felt were like silly or didn't really, I'm like, man, like, but when I would get somebody that would ask me something that was like a football question that I really could expand on and really talk about, that really helped. So I kind of feel like it's something, I think that's kind of what you see with him. Where does ZB rank cornerback wise heading into the next season, like all of college football? Reed asked that. Man, I would probably say top 3, in my opinion. I would have him at least top 3. I mean, without a doubt, top 5, but I need to kind of take a second to think. But I think he's definitely, I would say top 3 corner in college football going into next year. I could have some bias, but I just genuinely, I mean, he does so many things well for a corner. I mean, I feel like I can confidently say, like, without even thinking top 5, top 3, I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty sure I would throw him in top 3 without even thinking either. But yeah, he just, like I said, I just mentioned all those qualities, man. It's hard to find a corner that does all of those things. You know what I mean? Like you might have like a lockdown corner, but he struggles sometimes in impress man, or oh, he's not real physical and run support. Like this dude, I feel like checks everything. You know what I mean? I mean, turnover ability. I mean, like even like just look at like he has a knack for the football. I mean, that dude, he checks like all the boxes, man. He really does. And welcome back into this Talking Tuesday. This is the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC. Just heard from cornerback Zabian Brown, and during the break, man, we had a lengthy conversation, basically just talking about how great of a player this guy is, man. He deserves it, though. All seriously, he does deserve it. And just to summarize, I just was saying, like, without a doubt, I know we talk about, like, you know, who's going to be that guy on this team or on defense. John Zapier, I think, is going to be a lot of people's choices, but Zabian Brown, to me, I think is definitely in that conversation for being one of the best players on this football team. And basically, I just went over all the things, all the boxes, right? I mean, he checks like every box for a corner, which is very rare to have a guy that, you know, excels in man coverage. The length and the length and instincts that he plays with allows him to be a really good zone cover corner as well. You know, you watch him in his physicality in the run game. That's normally an issue for a lot of corners, not an issue for him. And he just has that DNA about him, that Marlon Humphrey, that Pat Surtain. He kind of got that DNA to be in one of the next great corners to come out of here, in my opinion. So I'm excited about him. You know, he's a little reserved when it comes to speaking to the media, but hey, man, that don't matter. What you do on the football field is the most important thing. Let's move on to the next player interview. We got tight end Kaleb Edwards, a guy that I feel like could really take that next step for this offense. You got Cuevas moving on to the NFL. We know he was like that security blanket for Ty Simpson last year. Depending on who's going to be the quarterback this upcoming season, I think Kaleb Edwards, alongside Josh Ford, transfer from Oklahoma State, I think those guys are going to definitely be some important pieces. But Kaleb Edwards especially, man, I think he's going to take that next step. So let's go ahead and hear from him following practice number 5 here in Tuscaloosa.
Kaleb, what's the offseason been like for you?
It's been great. Just a lot of work, just hard work, just putting head down, grinding with teammates. So it's just been amazing.
What's it been like working with Coach Owens so far?
Awesome. He's great coach. You know, played 6 years in the NFL, tight end. Just good learning every day from him. He's critiquing, just making me better every day.
What are the differences between him and Coach Ellis and how they lead your room?
I think Coach Ellis definitely was quarterback minded, and so I learned a little bit of quarterback and like trying to how they see stuff, and I'm learning even more from Coach Owens about like tight ends, running, run blocking, everything like that. So I think that's probably the difference.
I'll stop there real quick because I do think that's an important point, which I think everybody kind of assumed that, and we had mentioned that, right? When you bring in a guy that played the tight end position, like that was one of the biggest things I really liked about hiring Coach Owens. The guy played the tight end position at the highest level. He played, 6 or so years in the National Football League. But then what did he do? He turned into an offensive line coach, right? When he got into coaching. So you're talking about a guy with the pedigree of playing the position, but also has a background working with the offensive line, which if you guys played football, you know what I'm talking about. If you didn't, I mean, I'm sure you probably have an idea. Offensive line coaches typically are like, they're the yellers. They set the tone. I mean, they're getting after people. Like, that's in their DNA. Like he just mentioned with Coach Ellis, I mean, you're talking about a former quarterbacks coach. I don't think I've ever met a quarterbacks coach or been on a team that had a quarterbacks coach. I mean, Lane would jump his guys a little bit. I'm sure there's some, but there's a big difference between a quarterback coach and an offensive line coach, right? And just nice to hear him basically say that, yeah, I mean, that's a big difference. And you're talking about the tight ends and their ability to, you know, really help out in the run game, right? Like that's critical for them when they're in that C area. I felt that they didn't do a great job with that last season, right? Cuevas was solid, right? He's a little inconsistent, but he was about the only one. Granted, Kaleb was young, but I think just talking about earlier, like Kaleb needs to take that next step, right? To be the best tight end that he can be, you know, his blocking in the C area is going to be critical, right? How he develops in that area. And it sounds like Coach Owens is already having a great impact on that aspect of his game. So just wanted to stop that there because that definitely stood out.
With Ellis working with quarterbacks, do you still see him a lot, interact with him a lot?
Yeah, a bunch.
Yep.
So obviously with the offensive line background, what kinds of things did you learn from the blocking standpoint?
You know, just all technique stuff, just calls, especially just footwork, everything above.
What have you seen from the incoming freshman like Max?
Oh, he's great. I think he's going to be a great player. You know, he's young, got a lot of work to do, but so do all of us. But he's going to be a great player.
End of last season to now, where have you tried to improve your game the most?
Everywhere I can. Just, like I was saying, run blocking, just technique, just getting better at that, and then routes, seeing the ball in, all of it.
What was last season like for you as a freshman and kind of some of the playing time you were able to get? Kind of what did you learn from your freshman year?
Yeah, it was surreal. Just didn't expect to play as much as I did, and it was just my number got called, and it was just a lot of fun, a lot of great learning experience. And so I just, especially just getting to play with Cuevo, just learned a whole ton from him. Continue, he still talk all the time, just still learning from him instead.
As you become the guy in this room, what have you learned from Josh heading into this year?
Sorry.
What have you learned from Josh? Like, I mean, what kind of advice have you?
Especially a lot of like leadership stuff, mindset, just how to take control of the room and just kind of help everyone around me, especially and myself.
Normally as a tight end, I normally tower over people. This is probably one of the biggest secondaries. What is it like going up against some of these bigger cornerbacks?
It's great. I mean, just it makes me have to use different moves than just being able to overpower maybe a smaller DB or something like that. So just having to even develop even more.
Is that kind of weird to see that many, big guys? I mean, they're usually a rarity, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. But I think, like I said, it's a blessing just because I can perform and just develop that side of my game.
What kind of addition has Josh Ford been to your room?
Great guy. We've hung out a couple times, just talked to him every day. I think he's going to be a beast.
How would you describe his skill set?
I would say definitely running blocking. He's a great dude, and he's developing the pass game, and he's going to be a great addition for us.
What's it been like working with both quarterbacks this spring, and kind of how have you seen them grow from last offseason and they're back in that time?
It's been awesome. I grew up with Austin back in California, and so seeing him develop and then coming in with Keelan, just both of them have just been playing amazing.
How much pride do you take in both aspects of your game, just pass catching and especially the run blocking part?
Pride, just so much pride in both, just trying to be able to do it all.
It's unique. Is the way that Coach Owens talks about the tight end position similar or different from Coach Owens?
It's similar, but has different aspects. Like I said, we learned a little bit more of what everyone, the O-line's seeing, and Coach Ellis would a little bit more of what like quarterback's seeing, kind of, because that's just where they're from.
But it's still like preaching the all around, like all encompassing.
Totally. Both coaches taught me every part of the game. So.
What's unique maybe about both quarterbacks? What do you each bring to the table from your perspective?
I think they're both just hardworking and just putting their head down, just grinding, just like all of us. So.
When you say you grew up with Austin, like y'all played together, y'all played against each other?
Against each other.
Okay. Yeah. So you've seen him for a long time.
Mm-hmm. Basketball, football, both. So
It's awesome, like as a basketball player.
it's good. I played him in my JV year. I was a freshman, he was a sophomore, and that was a fun time. And then we ended up at the same school. So
Are you better than him?
we gotta go.
You able to watch March Madness over spring break?
More focused in on it.
Are you doing anything different technique-wise?
A little bit, just not a ton right now. You know, we're still only practice 5, so we're still just developing the basics, and then we're gonna work our way up.
So obviously, this is your first spring. Is it living up to what you've heard in terms of the expectation? Or
Yeah, I mean, I think I've developed even more than I could have possibly imagined in just this short time.
Yeah.
So I think having this spring, one spring under my belt now, is going to be a big difference in me and all my teammates.
What about?
All right, so we'll hit this top of the hour break. That was tight end Kaleb Edwards, but we got to hit the top of the hour break because when we come back, we'll be joined by Clint Lamb of Cover Crimson right here on the Miller's Edge and continue to talk some Alabama football spring practice number 5 right here on the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230, WTBC.
WTBC Tuscaloosa.
Oh, man. Sorry. Let me stop because I'm going to influence y'all to start. I'm not being mean. I just, listen, some of you got to ask some of those questions. I'm not trying to judge, but Carson said these dudes can't stand these questions. Oh, chill. No, I listen. I wasn't mad at the questions. No, stop, guys. I don't want to seem like I'm like. No, it's not. It's just I get frustrated sometimes. So I'm like, man, like, number one, I know you're like, why don't you just go? I can't ask him because I'm not up there, right? I mean, if I could, I would. But I just wish people, like, if you're going to have these opportunities, man, I'm just saying, like, because I was in these guys' shoes, like, I know how it feels, like just like, I don't know, man. I know not everybody's going to have that level of the game. Like, I totally understand that. But I just would say, like, if your job is to be a reporter and you're reporting on this stuff, man, like try to learn it. Like, try to learn stuff that you can really ask. And you know what I mean? Like, these guys will appreciate it. I'm telling you, number one. And two, I think, like, fans want to hear more of that stuff. Like, fans don't really want to hear the same old, like, you know what I mean? Like maybe on, like, day one and stuff like that. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, like, you can hear, like, again, I'm not going to like just pick this question and pick on. I don't know who even asked it, but it was what was like how much pride do you take in like doing your job or something? So, I mean, like, no, that's why he kind of was like, pride. Yeah. Yeah, I take a lot of pride in both. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, how do you answer that? You know, like, well, I take some pride in the run game, even though it's not my favorite. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Give you an example, because I know you're like, well, what would you ask? I would ask, how do you see maybe this offense evolving this upcoming season? Do you guys plan? Well, you're not going to say all your plans, but, like, you know, ask them about 12 personnel. You know, do you see you guys using a lot more 12 personnel? If so, you know, how do you feel like you fit in that equation? Do you feel like you're going to be, you know, more of that inline guy, you know, blocking this area more? He mentioned, you know, if you listen to him, he mentioned Josh Ford being that run blocker. If I had to guess, they'll probably use Josh Ford more in that role, you know, in that C area a lot more consistently than maybe Kaleb. But still, just something like that. I guess just more, and they're not going to say too much either, because, I mean, at the end of the day, you're not trying to sit there and tell the whole world, like, what you guys plan on doing. But I just know, I think those guys will probably appreciate that stuff a little bit more. I mean, those questions about, like, the coaching styles were good, though. That was good, because that's important information, right? And he did a really nice job explaining that, even though I think people kind of just assume that's probably going to be the case, but to hear him confirm that is pretty cool to hear. But let me stop that, because I'm going to have y'all sitting there thinking like that. I don't want to seem like I'm, like, making fun of anybody. I promise I'm not making fun of the media. I promise, guys. I just would recommend them to do a little bit more research and kind of ask those questions. Wait. No, we're on week 2. We'll just leave that. And welcome back into this Talking Tuesday edition of the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC. And now we're going to the phone lines where we're joined by our guest of the day. We got the man himself, Clint Lamb of Cover Crimson, who joins us every Tuesday right here on. Clint, welcome in, man. You are you making your way back from practice, or did you not make it up there today?
No, I didn't make it up there today, unfortunately. Yeah, we sometimes when you're doing the solo show thing, you don't always have the ability to. I live in Birmingham, or actually Chelsea, so I'm a good ways away. But I will certainly be up there, I think, for Friday's press conference with Kalen DeBoer. So I'm looking forward to that for sure.
Absolutely. No, that makes perfect sense. Yeah, now we moved our show. We were at 12, and now we're at 11. So it's kind of hard for me to even sneak up there. I just wasn't sure if you were on the road, man. But that said, practice 5 officially in the books, Clint. They were on spring break last week, so they hit the ground running today. Looks like they were in pads. I didn't see the bottom parts. I don't know if they were shells or pads, but regardless, they were in some type of pads today. Let me ask you, week number 2, what were some things that you might have been looking forward to hearing or seeing out of the guys as they return from spring break, or any, I guess, players or positions in particular that you were looking to hear from?
Yeah, I think the number one thing for me is the health of E.J. Crowell. He's a guy who's a little bit banged up. The way that Ryan Grubb had described it was a soft tissue problem. And so they decided to kind of be cautious with him and hold him back. There was a lot of install and kind of, it was like the beginning stages of spring practice. So I don't think they were pressed to get him on the field and force anything if he wasn't 100% healthy. I'm curious to see if he's back and how much he's being asked to do and how much he's being able to do, because not only is he a player that we all are kind of tabbing as a potential year one contributor, but also he's a guy who graduated early from high school. So he should be should be in his second semester of his junior year. And he's at Alabama already practicing. So for a young player like that, you'd love for them to have as much, as many opportunities on the practice field and, to kind of learn and kind of acclimate to his new surroundings and all that. So that would be something that I would love to know, just from a health standpoint. I would love to know who's lining up at guard. We know who the starting center is going to be, or at least, we're 99% sure based off of Ryan Grubb's comments. We know who the 2 starting tackles are going to be. But who's lining up at guard? Is a guy like Jaden James, is he getting some opportunities inside? How much is Ty Haywood playing inside? Is it still Mal Waldrop? Is it still Nick Brooks? Ethan Fields, the guy who, when we were there for the open, portion of practice, a couple of weeks ago, he was working with the centers. Is he working at guard? These are all questions that I would love to have answers to. Granted, we might not get answers to all of them, and we certainly aren't going to get answers to a lot of those major, massive questions that a lot of people, I'm sure, would want to have answered. But these are some of the things that, at least if I can help it by talking to some people, I'd love to get some sort of answers on.
Yeah, you mentioned E.J. Crowell, and that is interesting. And I look at that guy, man. Similar path to maybe seeing the field, kind of like Ryan Williams did. His freshman season. I know I was one of the people curious. I think you had tweeted that, kind of like making that mistake, man. You were like, I don't know, man. There's a lot of hurdles that a young player has to overcome to be able to contribute, especially at this level. And to be fair, listen, you weren't the only one thinking that. I mean, me and my dad sat on here and said, man, listen, to go from high school to college, it's a big deal. I mean, it doesn't matter if you were killing and crushing the competition in high school, the Under Armour game, because everybody kept saying that, hey, man, go back and watch the Under Armour All-American game. I'm like, listen, that's one thing. I was a part of that. But still, getting to college is a whole different beast, and we saw what he was able to do. And I think E.J. Crowell, man, at least just going off of, him as a football player, I know he's been a little bit banged up, but the guy being already 221? I wouldn't be shocked if he's definitely in that rotation early, and hopefully he can be that spark that this offensive line needs. We had Brooks Austin on yesterday, Clint, film guy, and he mentioned looking at, the guys that DeBoer and this staff brought in for the offensive line, like you were talking about. It seems like they're kind of working towards what we saw out of that Washington offensive line back in 2023 in terms of the body types. I know you've mentioned a couple of the guys that they've brought in. You look at Jackson Lloyd, his skill set, body type, really good athlete, tall, lengthy guy, but not 365 pounds like you saw out of Caden Proctor. I mean, do you feel like that's slowly what we're seeing? And do you think that in year 3, like they have enough of those guys, maybe those body types that could make a difference. Me personally, I understand the thought process behind that. And if you do watch that Washington offensive line, they were more athletic, they're more agile, perform better with lateral movement, which we saw a lot of under Washington. But I can't say I can go as far as thinking that that's 100% of the equation, because some of these guys, like you even mentioned, some of these transfers, I don't feel like they fit that mold. Like Nick Brooks, for example, or even Ethan Fields. I don't think those guys feel like types of body types. So do you feel like maybe that's looking too deep into it, that maybe that's exactly what they're going for? Maybe we'll see a little bit of a combination of size and speed, or what do you think is the game plan with this offensive line? We already know Jackson Lloyd has been named to start at left tackle. You got Michael Carroll, but with some of these other guys, do you think they're leaning more towards athleticism, or they're still kind of having a balanced approach with maybe the skill set and the body types with that group?
Well, I think there's going to be exceptions. I think that when you look at it, you're not going to pass up good players, right? You're not going to pass up a guy, especially there's only going to be so many players in the transfer portal who not only fit from, a size standpoint, an athleticism standpoint, an experience standpoint. I think there was a balance of, you added some young players, a Ty Haywood who certainly fits the system. He brings that size, he brings that athleticism, but he doesn't really have the experience. I think of Caden Strayhorn, to an extent, I think he provides some of that. But then, Racing Delgado certainly brings the experience, and he brings, kind of the athleticism, but from a size standpoint, not where you would say it's ideal, but to a point where he can get the job done. Sometimes, with Nick Brooks, yes, he doesn't really fit exactly what they would typically be looking for, but he did play in Steve Sarkisian's offense. It does take some level of athleticism to play in that offense, and he has experience as a young player, a former four-star recruit, playing in the SEC at a major program. And so I think those are some of the elements that he brings to the table. So not everybody is going to be a perfect schematic fit or a perfect, have a perfect skill set. With that being said, I do think that is the goal. I think a guy like Racing Delgado, a lot of times you wouldn't reach that far down to pull, especially an offensive line starter, because the physicality and the size and everything else is such a big step up and such a big transition. But he fits enough from a size perspective. The fact that they had the success they did, I think with Parker Brailsford, kind of made them confident in the fact that even though a guy might be a little bit undersized, that he can kind of compensate. And granted, I think from a leverage standpoint and just kind of, that wrestling background that Parker Brailsford brought to the table, I think that helped him compensate a little bit. But, that's a guy who, he didn't really bring the experience at a major program, but he brings the experience. And when you look at a guy like Javen James, he checked a lot of those boxes from a size standpoint, having the experience, not only being a starter period, but also having a year's worth of experience starting in the SEC. He fits from an athleticism standpoint. And so you look, Michael Carroll, he's an athlete. Jackson Lloyd, athlete. Ty Haywood, Jared Doty, Mal Waldrop even, he's a very sneaky, underrated athlete. Jaden James, Grayson Delgado, Tyrell Miller, the JUCO guy, Bryson Cooley. All of these guys, or at least a huge chunk of these guys, are that type of player. But at the same time, you needed so many bodies, and there were only so many of those types of guys available, whether it be on the high school level or on the college level, where you're going to have to sacrifice some. I think that ideally Cam Dewberry wouldn't have been the type of player that they targeted a year ago in the transfer portal. But they really felt like that the experience factor was something that, could have helped him as far as being a multi-year contributor at a place like Texas A&M. And so while he didn't necessarily fit exactly what they were looking for, he did bring enough elements where it's like, okay, that can be a guy you can get by with. He brings enough athleticism for his size. He did some pretty good things for Alabama this past season. So that's kind of been my approach. Not everybody is going to be this tailor-made perfect mold, but I do think the overall goal is to get maybe a little bit leaner. You want to be as big as possible, but the number one thing is you've got to be an athlete to do some of the things as far as pulling and getting out in space, working to the second level, hitting moving targets and staying locked in on them. Like, you need to have some of those traits if you want to play in this offense, and I think they've done a pretty good job of targeting multiple guys who can do that.
Yeah, I agree. I think they're kind of working towards. Are we fully there yet? Probably not necessarily, but I guess we'll have to see. I do agree that if you do look at some of the recruits, that they're targeting. They do have a little bit more of that athletic profile up front. We're joined by Clint Lamb of Cover Crimson, who joins us every Tuesday here on the Miller's Edge. If you guys haven't, man, check them out on YouTube and all other podcast platforms at Cover Crimson, as well on X, and then Clint's personal at Clint R. Lamb on X, where you can get all his tweets and updates for you guys there. Clint, sticking with the run game, I know we talk about it at length, but I want to continue a little bit further here, because I went back and watched a little bit of Washington's tape from 2023 just to kind of refresh myself on what exactly it looked like and maybe what is realistic to expect here, because I started to think about this, Clint. I'm like, I know number one, it's mandatory you run the football. We know that, right? It doesn't have to be the running game that we had grown accustomed to seeing here in Tuscaloosa. That I think that's a long shot. That's just not how this offensive scheme operates. I don't think they've ever really done that with their offense. But you go back to 2023, and on one end, when you look at it, like, man, they had a 1,000-yard rusher. They were able to run the ball, but then when you kind of really do a deep dive, they still were like 100th nationally. I think they were just over like around 118 yards per game, something like that. But it was enough. With that said, what are your realistic expectations, Clint, for this upcoming season? Like, we talk about the running game must improve. What does that look like, and what would be enough for you to check that box and say, okay, that's enough, or that's what we were looking for this upcoming season? Because I think the reason I'm asking is because I think there's a lot of fans that I think they want to see 150, 160 on the ground a game, and I don't know if I envision that. Personally, I just don't think that's what this offense is. I don't think they've ever really been that. But for you, what do you think is realistic for the running game in terms of making improvements?
Well, the way that I put it is be a threat, have a threatening running game. That is something that it just reached a point where defenses, they had zero respect for Alabama's run game this past season. I think it's got to start by, hey, if you're going to present opportunities, if you're going to give us numbers, we're going to be able to exploit it. And it's not just, I think against Oklahoma in the first matchup, I think they presented numbers, at times favorable numbers, and Alabama did capitalize. I think that had a lot to do with the amount of rushing success that they had against an elite run defense. Was that they were just, from a number standpoint, it was there. It was because Oklahoma really didn't respect, Alabama's run game, but they didn't make them really pay for it. They didn't, rip off any sort of massive explosive runs. Now, I know Daniel Hill, I think, had one, but I'm talking, if they're presenting some of the looks that they were giving Alabama in that game, they should have been ripping off all sorts of 10, 12, 15-yard gains, and they weren't doing it. And so Oklahoma's like, they're making us pay a little bit, but they're kind of inching it down the field. And any time that you're making the offense inch their way down the field, especially an offense like Alabama, eventually, they're going to, call a play. You're going to get a tackle for loss. Now it's a 2nd and 12. You're going to put them in an unfavorable situation, and the entire operation is going to fall apart. So they had no problem looking at Alabama's offense saying, we'll give up those 3, 4, 5 yards, all day. And so I think that's why I feel like explosiveness really could have helped Alabama more in 2025. And in 2026, I think it starts with, if teams are going to present some of those opportunities, you have got to make them pay for it with explosives. It doesn't have to be an explosive every single time, but they have to know that they're going to pay for giving you some of the looks that they're giving you. And then from there, it is building consistency on that. It's finding something you're really good at, being able to rely on that at bare minimum, but then also trying to expand from it. One of the things at Washington is that offense was so diverse. I mean, just it threw a lot of different things at opposing defenses. And right now, it almost seems like they're trying to do that, but they don't have the ability to do it. They are not, a cohesive unit like that Washington, whether it be offensive line or really Washington offense in general. And so they've got to kind of get back to the basics a little bit, find a couple of things that you're really good at, and then expand and build from there, because the number one thing is you've got to just figure out a way to move the football a little bit on the ground. And then, once you're able to do that, it's a matter of, how good or how effective does it get? Well, I mean, hopefully they can get somewhere in the, bare minimum 70s, 60s, but hopefully somewhere in the 40s or 50s as far as rushing offense. You don't have to have a top 20 rushing offense or a top 25 or a top 30. A lot of people think that's what you got to have. I mean, Alabama, in like I want to say was it 2020 with Najee Harris. I mean, as far as yards per game and stuff, I want to say they ranked somewhere in like the 40s or 50s as far as the rushing offense. But you looked at him, and he was almost a Heisman finalist. He was a guy that everybody respected. He was a first-round draft pick at running back, but they just had such a high-octane passing offense that you didn't have to rush for all this yardage on the ground. And in this Kaleb DeBoer, Ryan Grubb offense, that's kind of the way it's supposed to operate. But one of the things that Washington they had is teams respected Dylan Johnson, and they respected their ability to run the football. They just didn't do it, very often. And that's not where they really thrived and where they were at their best. But that threat was always there. Ryan Grubb has always had the threat of a run game everywhere he's been. He didn't use it enough at Seattle. That's why he got fired, in my opinion. But he always had Zach Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker. Even at Fresno, he had a couple of NFL running backs, including Ronnie Rivers, on some of those Fresno State rosters. And so they always had the threat of the run game. This past season was the first time, probably in his entire career, where there was zero threat of a run game. And I think that affected him in a major way as far as him calling plays.
Yeah, it definitely did, and I think people understand now. If they didn't before, man, you even if you're a pass-heavy offense, man, you have to be balanced, and hopefully that is something that they can find a way to do this upcoming season, because that will be, in my opinion, critical to the success of this offense. Speaking of offense, I want to stick here, but we're going outside of Alabama football. We're going into the draft real quick, Clint, because there's been a lot of conversations about Ty Simpson, former Alabama quarterback, and he's emerging not only as a top quarterback in the draft, but maybe the top quarterback in this upcoming draft. I'm curious what your thoughts are on that. Dan Orlovsky, he seems to love Ty Simpson to the point where he thinks he is, I guess taking over for the top quarterback spot, passing up Fernando Mendoza. Are you willing to go that far and say you feel like Ty Simpson is basically solidifying himself as QB1 in this upcoming draft, Clint, or you think it's still close? You still have Fernando at the number one spot. How do you see this whole quarterback class taking shape right now with Ty Simpson?
I want to remain consistent, because if this didn't involve Ty Simpson, I know exactly how I'd be approaching this, and that is it's lying season. And that's something that every year people end up falling for it. I don't know if this is one of those lies. That's the problem is, some of it's true, some of this, and granted, Dan Orlovsky is not saying, I've talked to NFL teams. Some NFL teams are kind of confirming some of the things that are being said, but that also could be somebody that's just hoping and praying that, when Cam Ward, that was the New York Giants really, really wanted him, but they didn't have the number one overall pick. And they were doing everything they could to get to number one to get him. The Tennessee Titans wouldn't budge, and they ended up getting Jackson Dart, a pretty good quarterback, but they didn't take him at number 2. They had to trade back up in the first round to get him. And the guy that Brian Dable always wanted was Cam Ward. So it could be a situation where someone really wants Fernando Mendoza. They're starting to push this, hoping that the Raiders end up second-guessing themselves. It could be something like that. What I can tell you is that a lot of what people are saying is, in fact, true about Ty Simpson. He does have some size concerns. The fact that he dealt with so many different things, gastritis and, the back injury and the broken rib and all these various things in his 1 year as the starting quarterback for Alabama, that's going to cause some concern or some pause. But, he's a rhythm-based quarterback. He's very, as far as timing, as far as pre-snap and post-snap, and he's a coach's son. He throws with timing. He throws with accuracy. He's very structured, but he's also got some mobility. He's a fun guy who can be successful on the NFL level. So I think it's a little bit, they're not grasping at straws by making some of these statements and stuff. I don't think it's completely absurd or completely out of left field. But as far as, and I do think when you look at Fernando Mendoza, there are some things as far as what he was asked to do in college that he's simply not going to be asked to do or have the ability to do on the NFL level. And there could be some, you got to kind of guess as far as if he's going to be able to do that at a high level. I ultimately think Fernando Mendoza is going to be the number one quarterback. I think overall he probably should be. But, it's not this absurd, completely out of left field take by some of these, prognosticators. And I, think at this point, Todd's going to end up, I think, proving some people wrong. It might take him some time because he still is very, very green, and hopefully he doesn't end up somewhere where he's going to be asked to start right away. But I do think if he's given some time, maybe if he ends up somewhere like with the Los Angeles Rams sitting behind Matthew Stafford, I think in that system and that offense with that organization, you give him a little bit of time, a year or two, he can end up being a really, really good quarterback in the NFL. So some people are saying if you draft Ty Simpson, your GM's going to be fired within a year or two. I think that's absurd. But I also think that some people are running, with some of this, and you just never know how much you need to be taken with a grain of salt when it comes to this stuff at this time of year.
Yeah, no, you're right. There's a lot of smoke being put out there, and you're right. There's a bunch of different perspectives, but I think you hit the nail on the head. I mean, realistically, if you really do break down Ty's tape, there are a lot of positives, and even just past the tape, like you mentioned, the DNA coming from the son of a head coach in college football, longtime head coach. I mean, he checks all these boxes you want out of a quarterback. And I said earlier, I mean, his biggest red flags were the durability this past season and the lack of starts, and then I guess the size. Those are red flags, quote unquote, when it comes to the draft. But those aren't terrible. I mean, at least it's not. You're too worried about the accuracy. You're too worried about, can he pick up the system in the NFL off? I mean, all those are big check boxes, which I think with Fernando, it's not necessarily that you don't think he can do it. Just some of it, he hasn't necessarily shown or been asked to do some of those things from where he came from versus Ty. So it is an interesting conversation, but I think you're spot on with it. Clint, we appreciate you as always, man. Before we let you go, please tell the folks how they can keep up with Cover Crimson and yourself and all the good work that you guys are doing covering Alabama football this spring.
Yeah, we have a daily show on the Cover Crimson YouTube channel. Also, if you like to listen, through podcast, Apple, Spotify, wherever you listen, all you have to do is go search the Cover Crimson Podcast Network. Or if you want to follow me on Twitter, personally, it's at Clint R. Lamb. Once again, Christian, great talking to you, buddy, and I look forward to next week.
Yes, sir. Sounds like a plan, Clint. Have a great rest of your day, brother.
You too, man. Good talking to you.
Yes, sir. Likewise. Clint Lamb of Cover Crimson, who joins us every Tuesday here on the show. Big thanks to him for always sharing some time with us, talking some Alabama football. And maybe we'll talk some more NFL draft coming up, man, because we're getting close, man. Almost that time. We got Pro Day tomorrow. So we hopefully will have some coverage with that and be talking about it. Excited to see what those guys get to do out there over at the indoor facility in Mount Moore. That does start at 10 a.m. So it probably will be going on, it will be going on during the show. Maybe we'll have some boots on the ground and get some live coverage. That would be cool. We got to hit this timeout. When we come back, we keep on rolling right here on the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230, WTBC.
Where they do that at? If you're looking for the ultimate experience in electronic bingo.
That was quite the ad. Let me catch up here on the chat real quick. Will Grubb learn from the mistakes last year? I mean, he better. No, I mean, I do think we'll see, a lot of, hopefully, improvement in some areas that we needed to be better in last year. Golly, man. Where's my water? Get my water. QD, what's up? Number one concern is if this offensive philosophy works in the SEC. Is pass first with running to keep a defense honest approach. Not feeling it, huh? I mean, to be fair, I feel like, a lot of college football, even in the SEC, has adapted. Now, do we pass more than a number of teams in the SEC? Sure. But, I mean, if you look at the Georgias, you look at, who else were very run-heavy teams? LSU. All these teams have evolved, right? So, I mean, to your point, I think it can work for sure, but I do think you have to, you can't be too stubborn with it. You know what I mean? I don't think you should view it as like run just to keep the defense honest. I think you run the ball to run the football. It's a part of playing the game of football. Like you look at Lane at Ole Miss. And even look at Lane. Actually, that's a good example because everybody just, summed up Lane Kiffin and his offense as big pass heavy offense. They don't run the football, but then you look at Ole Miss, they're one of the top rushing teams in the conference, right? And that's with Lane Kiffin, who was a guy that initially when he came to Alabama, you look at how he kind of, helped evolve our offense into a lot more of a pass heavy offense. We still ran the football a bunch, but Lane is smart. Like that's what makes Lane a really good football coach, man. He understands, right? Offensively, like, yeah, they're going to throw the football, they're going to look for those explosives, but they're not going to forget their true bread and butter. They're not going to forget the importance of really being balanced and being physical and creating that running game to set yourself up, right? Just like with us, like when Lane was here, you know what I mean? We threw the ball a bunch. I mean, our quarterbacks were really successful under Lane Kiffin, but look at all the success our running backs still had. We ran the football a whole bunch too. I mean, 2015 with Derrick Henry, that was the year he broke all those records. Now it's with Lane Kiffin as coordinator. So can it work? Yeah, I mean, you can win throwing the ball a lot, but I just think you just have to be balanced. That's why I asked that question. I mean, like, what should fans genuinely expect out of this running game, right? If you're thinking like 150, 160, I think the year before Kalen Moore's first year, I think it was around like almost 170 a game because you had Jalen Milroe at quarterback. That's a totally different ball game. They're not going to be asking Austin Mack or Keelan Russell to be running the way they did with Jalen. That said, if you're totally relying on a true running game, I mean, if you're in that 140, 150 range, that'd be great. I mean, I think it's possible, but you got to be committed to it and you got to take the necessary steps. And welcome back into this Talking Tuesday. This is the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC. Big shout out to Clint Lamb, who joins us every Tuesday. Just got done speaking with him, talking all things Alabama football. Catching up on spring again. Practice number 5 has just concluded. Today we heard from a couple of players. Might be another player or two that we might be able to hear from. I'll keep you guys posted on that. But in terms of what we just talked about, it's kind of piggybacking off that last point with Ty Simpson. Clint's got a good point, man. I mean, we are kind of in that season where you're going to see that there's going to be so much media coverage. Sometimes you're going to see some smoke being put out there. Teams are going to be saying some things. And I've already started to see some of this, right? Because Dan Orlovsky, he's been kind of leading the charge with the Ty Simpson train, right? As quarterback 1. I know Brooks said yesterday he jumped. I guess he had Orlovsky beat, but listen, there's some people that are starting to feel that way. What I'm getting at is if you look at, I think Mel Kiper, who I think initially kind of was giving some pushback on the whole deal with Ty, he kind of had, I guess, the opposite to say. Reed, did you see Mel Kiper's response to that? About basically saying, I haven't had anybody, he's having the opposite being done, and he's hearing the opposite almost. Have you seen that response?
I have not, Christian.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because, and at this point, I don't know. I mean, Dan Orlovsky, we know he works for ESPN. He covers the draft, he covers players, all that stuff. Of course, he also is speaking to teams, but it sounds like Mel Kiper, I mean, who I would argue probably, and I'm sure they both have great resources and connects, but I mean, Mel Kiper literally specifically talks to the draft. I mean, that's his thing. It sounds like he's saying the opposite. This was his response to all the noise recently with Ty Simpson being quarterback 1.
Looking at late first round as far as young fielding is concerned. Now, for anyone, look, Dan got a lot of attention for what he said yesterday, and certainly a lot of strong disagreement saying he believes that Ty Simpson is actually the best quarterback in this class. But I want to show you a tweet that Mike Tannenbaum had. He reposted our clip of that, and he wrote on top of it, in talking to clubs, this opinion is shared by other teams as well. So, Mel, as you assess Fernando Mendoza and Ty Simpson, how big a gap do you see between the top 2 quarterbacks in this class?
Yeah, that's not shared by anybody I've spoken to. Fernando Mendoza's at 1 on my board. Ty Simpson's at 25. You say, why? Fernando Mendoza's nearly 4 inches taller than Ty Simpson.
Looking at late.
So the clip cuts off there. He immediately jumped to the height there, Reed, which is kind of interesting. I don't know if that would have been like my first argument, but I get it. Yeah. A lot of scouts and personnel, they get excited about when you're talking about statures and things like that. Sometimes I think we almost get lost in that too much, instead of if a guy can just play some good football, like shouldn't matter if he's 6'1" or 6'4". I mean, you should just go off of what they're doing on tape, which there is an argument to be made. I think, well, yes, I think Ty had some more of those down moments, especially towards the end of the season. But if you're talking about more highlights, not like highlight tape stuff, but you get what I'm saying, more throws that you go, wow, like that's an NFL throw. I would argue that, yeah, I think Ty Simpson probably is going to have a few more of those types of plays on his tape. The consistency might not necessarily be there, given if you look at the whole picture, and he kind of had that kind of fall off towards the end of the year. But now we know he was dealing with a lot of injuries. But what are your thoughts on that, Reed? Who are you believing in this situation? Are you going to go with Orlovsky and Tannenbaum, who they're saying, hey, man, a lot of clubs feel that Ty Simpson is quarterback number one on their boards. But then you hear Mel Kiper basically say, oh, no, that's not shared by anybody I'm speaking to. Who are you leaning towards in this situation?
Christian, if I had to pick one, which, I'm kind of in between, I'm really thinking it's coming down to, I wouldn't agree with Mel Kiper there. I don't think it's really a statue kind of issue. I think it's more regarding what we've already talked about, the years of experience. He's only had 1 year as a starter, the health concerns with the injuries he has had. But outside of that, and we've talked about it, he looked to be one of, if not the best quarterbacks in the country when he was fully healthy. Now, really, I guess the question that I'm going to kind of bounce back to you, Christian, as I answer this, I think Mendoza is the one, but I don't think that gap is as huge as some people think it is. But my question to you then is, if Ty Simpson is fully healthy, where to you is kind of that gap? Is it pretty close, or is it, a little bit spread out?
Great question. I'll say this, and I know I'll piggyback. I think Mario or somebody might have just mentioned it too, or what Dan was saying, that if Ty Simpson was 6'3", I know it's a 2-inch difference, but hear me out, man. Sometimes these little details, they infatuate some of these scouts, right? Or even coaches. If Ty was 6'3", little bit heavier, right? And you mentioned the durability piece. Even I think the durability was even a little bit better. We've seen guys with limited number of starts. Now the problem is they start looking at the analytics and they say, hey, guys that have less than X amount of starts, I mean, the rate of those guys, I wouldn't say being bust, but those guys not living up necessarily to their expectations, it is, substantially higher than guys that do get drafted with the experience. So for me, I'll be honest. Yeah, I agree that if you fix something, not fix, I don't want to use the word fix, but if you alter some of those things, you add a couple inches to Ty, you clean up some of that durability, I think it is a lot closer than it might be. I just feel like Clint was saying, I think right now, this happens every draft season. You start seeing a guy that might have initially been viewed as X prospect here, and they start gaining some steam in the media, and there's a lot of conversation, and then draft day comes, then it ends up being what you pretty much expected or what we had been hearing initially, right? And I think that would be with Fernando Mendoza being the first quarterback taken. Now I fully expect that to happen. I expect Fernando Mendoza to be the first quarterback taken, but then I do expect Ty Simpson to be quarterback too. But I think he could get drafted a little bit higher than some people are necessarily assuming, just because, and I've said this all along. I mean, even if teams really had a second round grade on Ty, if someone needs a quarterback, he's going to get drafted higher than maybe his projection might initially state. That's just how the NFL draft works. And I have been believing that, and now I believe it more so than ever, given that people have had time to really study his tape. And they're seeing what we have been seeing, like we talked about. I mean, like those throws that, and I mean, I went back and I was watching some of those clips from the Oklahoma game in the postseason. I mean, some of those throws Ty made, to me, that was just like, coming back to life game. It was really impressive, man. He had some throws that were just like, man, those are NFL type throws. Those are Sunday level throws. And without a doubt, this guy's going to be able to transition to the next level. But like you said, those concerns are definitely still going to be there. Just as a matter of what you want to lean into, right? Do you want to lean more into, hey, those throws that he makes, the processing ability, or those concerns are going to scare us off just a tad to where we don't want to pull the trigger too aggressively, right? That's what the draft is for, man. But that's what makes it fun.
Plus, Christian, you got to consider as well, like, we don't know what, like, of course, we already assume that Mendoza is going to go to the Raiders, but we really don't know exactly, like, the specific team. Ty, of course, up there on your screen, we have the Cardinals. It could be the Jets. It could be the Browns. We don't know what team yet. And so he can only do so much as a player. He also is going to have to play around the team. It's a team sport.
And that's part of the reason why people are kind of questioning, because remember the initial conversation about him was, hey, you draft this guy, you let him sit a year or two, and he's going to be golden. But now, naturally, with him being bumped up in that conversation of, hey, being taken as, an immediate answer to some of these teams that desperately need a quarterback, those are going to start to be thrown back in there. Okay, we might need to draft him earlier, but is he completely ready to come and compete right now? According to Ty, he thinks he is, and I definitely, I think he should have confidence, but I do think a little bit of an adjustment period would be beneficial to him. We got to hit a little bit of a timeout period real quick on the Miller's Edge. When we come back, we'll keep on rolling. We'll keep talking this and some more Alabama football right here. Tide 100.9, 1230, WTBC.
It's the grand reopening of the all-new Tuscaloosa Mazda. Get the grand...
Hold on, give me 2 seconds, guys. All right. Let's see. For about 7 or 8 games, Tyler at quarterback 1, injuries, lack of running game killed the season. Down the stretch, people pinned their ears back, blitz heavily because there was no rushing attack. That, and they started getting, showing 3 high safety looks. I mean, they were taking away the deep part of the deep middle part of the field. I mean, they yeah, you're right. They definitely started really having answers for a lot of the things that we were doing earlier on in the year. But you're right, man. There's about a little over half the season where he definitely was looking like quarterback 1. Mendoza's a bust, says Jake. Wow. Man, I don't know if I can say that, Jake. Man. All right, good deal, Reed. Yeah, I was going to say that's what I was going to recommend, maybe getting out again at 45 just to catch back up. Right? Does that make sense? Between 45 and 50, then come back? Yeah. Perfect. That's what I was planning on doing. I got you, brother. We'll do like 47 or so. And then we'll be back on schedule. I appreciate it, Reed. Yeah, so is it interesting to you guys too that like now 6'1" is a big concern? Because I thought it was like 6'1" became, I thought the new standard, I'm not saying the new standard was being 6'1", but I thought it was now a lot more accepted and not so much of a big deal for guys to be 6'1", because we were seeing, Bryce Young and other quarterbacks that hadn't really been even 6 foot. But now I guess people are reversing course, and now they're saying, 6'1's too small again. I thought 6'1 was kind of, you look at a lot of college quarterbacks, even good quarterbacks. You don't really see, definitely Kyler Murray for sure. Kyler Murray's small, man. He like at best 5'11". Isn't Ty same height as Hurts? Yeah, Jalen's probably like a third of an inch taller than Ty, maybe. Yeah, I mean they're around. They're similar. Jalen's probably like a hair taller, but yeah, they're definitely real close. Wait, no. Oops. And welcome back into this Talking Tuesday edition of the Miller's Edge, Top 100.9, 1230 WTBC. We're talking some NFL draft talk. Pro Day tomorrow. Really, the talk right now is Ty Simpson, but I don't want to lose sight of the other guys too, right? I feel like the big conversation is Ty Simpson because, you know, there's the debate on who's quarterback one. I'm seeing our folks in the chat even going as far as saying they think Mendoza could be a bust. Reed, what do you think about that, man? Fernando Mendoza, we're talking about a guy that just led his team to an undefeated season in this new playoff / NIL transfer portal era. Now, I know it wasn't just him. I mean, he had a lot of, you know what's crazy? I say a lot of good players. Like, he did have, you know, a number of good players around him. I do think some of their players are definitely underrated. But to be fair, I mean, if you do watch the tape, it wasn't like blowing you away for, you know, really a lot of the regular season. You know, he had some big moments, but I would say during the regular season, the biggest moment was that drive against, was it Penn State, where he let them down? Yeah, he let them down there to win the game. I mean, but outside of that, to be fair, if you watch the tape, I mean, it didn't really like, there weren't like so many things that he was doing that was just blowing you away. He had some good throws, don't get me wrong, but it wasn't as consistent as maybe that you were seeing out of Ty Simpson during that frame. But then they kind of flopped, where Ty kind of started to regress a little bit. We all just mentioned why. We know injuries and the offense just not really having balance to it. But and then you saw him really elevating his game towards the end of the year, especially when they're going against, you know, teams like Alabama, you know, Ohio State. Who else did they play? They blew out Oregon, right? Playing against a really good Miami team. And I think if you really lock in, even if you just look at that small sample size, but against really good teams and really solid defenses, man, Fernando Mendoza, I think right now is basically what Clint was saying. Like, everybody's looking for something, like, you know, like the standard right now is Fernando Mendoza is going to be the top pick, but now everybody's like, oh, well, let's take a second look at this guy. And I think you can naturally start to kind of forget that when I was watching Fernando Mendoza in the postseason, I mean, his timing, his accuracy, I mean, this dude he's special, man. I thought he was really good, sneaky athletic, a tough guy, seems like a great leader to me. And I know there's just some of those things that don't, you know, that are a little bit more college-esque that he's going to have to learn how to, you know, do in the National Football League. But I just feel like, as smart as he is, he seems like he's got his head on straight. I feel like that shouldn't be too much of an issue. But Reed, what do you think about the whole Mendoza will be a bust comment by our guy Jake in the chat, man? Do you think he's going to be a bust, or do you think he's going to be a good NFL quarterback?
Well, I'm just going to say I hope Jake is wrong, especially regarding my Las Vegas Raiders, you know, being a Raider fan. I'm hoping, you know, fan-wise that he's not. But really, when you look at it, Christian, I think of it as, if you look at like the draft class regarding Caleb Williams, Drake May, and Jane Daniels, you know, they all kind of, you know, were very flashy. You know, some of them were extremely athletic, very versatile, while Mendoza's more, you know, I guess you could say the standardized quarterback. You know, he doesn't, like we've talked about, it's nothing spectacular, but I feel like he does the right things at the right time. He makes the right decisions. He's that leader. At least in Vegas, he's not going to have, or he shouldn't have, any off the field issues. You know, he seems like a great guy, and I think he's going to be pretty solid. I don't see a bust at all. And plus, you know, you got to think undefeated season, national champion, Heisman winner. I mean, we're not talking generational here. We're not talking Brady, Breeze, like Dan Marino area, but, you know, I think he's going to do well in the NFL.
Yeah, I do too. And to the Bama Standards point, kind of like my dad was mentioning too, I think the reality is this is a weak quarterback class. And I don't mean that in a disrespectful way. I'm just compared to other classes, I think it's a little bit of a weaker class. And with that, typically it's probably, like they're saying, it's probably pushing him to maybe be viewed as a prospect that maybe is a little bit higher than he typically would be viewed. For example, there were some other quarterbacks in this class, right, that were kind of given a little bit more of a run for his money. I think the conversation might be a little bit different. Like, I don't view him as, like you mentioned, a generational type quarterback, even though there's accolades from this past year. I mean, he was great, right? He did a lot of really impressive things. I think he ends up being a very solid NFL quarterback, but maybe not necessarily like a generational type quarterback. But let's just call a spade a spade. I mean, how many quarterbacks even end up living up to that hype? I'd say this year in and year out. We always spend all this time, you know, arguing about who's going to be the top quarterback taken, who's going to go where, what we think they'll do. And the reality is, you don't really see too many guys go on and be the next Tom Brady. I mean, it's very rare. Like, I mean, even the good prospects end up going on and having good careers. They might, be a Pro Bowl type guy, but half the time, and we talked about yesterday, I mean, a guy like Brock Purdy emerges. Tom Brady was not a very high draft pick. I mean, more than likely, the guy is going to probably just go on and hopefully at best be a solid quarterback that can give you a few years of some good football. Hopefully be a franchise guy, but the reality is, I mean, I don't think it's very often this guy is going to be the next, he's going to lead you to a Super Bowl and be the next Tom Brady. That's kind of how the whole thing works out. We got to hit a timeout. We come back. We wrap things up on this Talking Tuesday edition. We haven't had any phone calls. If you guys want to jump on the phone line, you got about 8 minutes or so to do so right here on the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230, WTBC.
Coming up on the Tuesday.
Hold up, Reed. Hold on. We got to start. Hold on. Y'all done added damn Thunderstruck music to people's y'all don't even record me a preview, man. I done asked for that like for about a year now. Now y'all got these soundtracks and shit, man. Come on, man. I mean, where is my pre-recorded in boy, you guys are gonna appreciate me one day, man. Y'all at that station don't appreciate me, man. Y'all gonna appreciate me one day. That's crazy. I done asked for a simple pre-recorded little intro thing like everybody does, man. People can't figure it out. And then y'all are adding soundtracks to oh man, you can't make this stuff up, man. You can't make this stuff up. Reed said this out of my pay raise. He said he didn't even know we had. That's what I'm like, dude. Like, it's crazy, man. Jared says Mel Kiper is a puppet. That dude knows a whole lot about nothing. I mean, I don't know. I asked him too. He said he didn't even know exactly how to do everything. Jeff says, I just found your channel. You're pretty damn good. Oh man, thanks, man. I appreciate that. Glad you found us, man. We're here every day. Well, Monday through Friday, weekdays, 11 to 1. It looks like you're on the YouTube stream, so just a heads up. We're a radio show, so if you're wondering kind of why we got breaks or sometimes why the video might be titled one thing and it might take, I don't know, a few minutes to kind of get into that conversation or something, just know that's why, because we're a 2-hour radio show, but we stream here. But glad to have you tuning in, man. Thank you so much. And thank you for the kind words. My computer is acting slow today, man. It's always something, man. Always something. Yeah, Reed, I'll just giving you a hard time. I know it's not you. I just think it's funny. I'm like, I just asked for a simple, I'm like, hey, can I get back in the loop on hey, coming up tomorrow? I'm like, because we've been doing a lot of fun stuff, man. Had some great guests. I'm like, we need to kind of spread the word a little bit via radio. But dang, everybody act like they couldn't figure it out. Then all of a sudden, they're adding soundtracks. They've gone even further. Now it's not just the coming up next. They got the damn custom music to it. I'm even hearing. I'm like, man. I'm used to it at this point, though. It's all good, man. They take me for granted up there. They take me for granted. It's all good, though. It's all good, man. Get out of this truck and play Call of Duty. Hey, I'm on there too. Dwight, might need to get your username. Good to hear some different views. Yeah, I appreciate it, man. Yeah, that's one thing we'll do here on the show, man. We'll shoot you guys straight, but we definitely we're gonna talk some ball, man. We definitely do that here. The true nobody's been able to stop Sedarian Morgan, the red zone in practice. I've been hearing a lot of good things about him, man. I mean, I definitely think Reed said it's not included. No, I know you. No, not you, man. Not you. I'm talking about something else. No, I'm just being funny, but I'm like, dang, man. I'm like, We've been doing a lot of great stuff, man. You know what they say, man. You know what they say. Excited to see where the OSU linebackers go. Yeah, me too, man. And to think they had both of those guys in that same defense. Very impressive stuff. Very impressive stuff. But I think both of them are going to be good players. I mean, depending on what kind of system they go in, because they got versatility. I do think Sonny Styles is more that. I think that's his name, right? Sonny? I think you keep him at inside backer, but the other one, Arvell, definitely think you could slide him to outside. I mean, either could play, but I think Sonny's fine at inside. I think Arvell definitely could make that move to outside. And welcome back into this Talking Tuesday edition of the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC. Real quick, let me remind you about our friends over at Lamparello Law Education and Advocacy. Now, we've been talking a lot about some of these cases that have been going on here, and luckily, we've got our official representation here on the Miller's Edge, Adam Lamparello of Lamparello Law Education and Advocacy, who fills us in on everything. But not only that, he takes great care of us. He represents us and his clients with compassion, right? Genuine care, relentless advocacy. You guys hear it every time he joins the show on Thursday. So make sure you guys check them out or contact them if you're in any type of situation. Hopefully you're not, but if you're ever dealing with something, whether it's NIL, it could be academic misconduct, it could be whatever you think of, right? Any criminal defense matter, they've got you covered. But even further, they're always looking to help you take that next step in your career, whether that's professional or academic. They take care of a lot of high school, college, and graduate students on career success, whether that's mentoring, test taking preparation, subject matter mastery, resumes, and so much more. So check them out, 201-317-5115, or you can always shoot them an email at adam@lamparello-law.com. Again, that is Lamparello Law Education and Advocacy, who we will hear from Thursday here on the show. I will remind you guys, speaking of some of our partners, again, big thanks to all of our partners. We work with a handful of people that help make all this possible, so thank you guys so much to everybody. But I will say we do have some more opportunities, including a title sponsor opportunity. So if you guys enjoy the show and you guys want to work with us directly, right, and then have your business, company, whatever it is, plastered all over the Miller's Edge and be in a partnership with us, we definitely encourage you guys to reach out to us. You can contact us at themillersedge@outlook.com, and we'll get back with you. Or you can always visit our website for more information, themillersedge.com. But again, title sponsor opportunity open, first time in 3 years, right? And you might want to jump on that before we get rolling into football season, because that's definitely going to be a big thing. But that will do it for us here on the show, and we'll look forward to doing it all again tomorrow right here on the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC. We'll see you guys then.
You've been listening to the Miller's Edge, tackling sports daily.
With Ty.
Good stuff. Mario said, I thought about making you an intro song for YouTube to have a home studio. Hey, man, let me know. Let me know. As long as it's like copyright free, that's the biggest thing, man. Yeah, I'll use some music. Yeah, that's cool. Appreciate it, Reed. Take care, brother. Tua versus Penix going to be interesting. Yeah, that is going to be a really interesting battle of the lefties over in Atlanta, man. Definitely going to be interesting for sure. But yeah, Mario, if you want to fool around and do that, man, let us know. I know Joey, who's an avid listener. He does logos and design and stuff like that. He made us some cool logos. I'm thinking about trying to put one on like a shirt or something, do something cool with it. But yeah, man, that'd be cool. Just shoot us an email, themillersedge@outlook.com. We definitely can do that. All right, that'll do it, guys. I got to get out of here. Got to do some things, but appreciate you guys as always. For our ex-listeners, appreciate you guys tuning in. All of our listeners, thank you guys for tuning in. But I always say to our ex-listeners, if you guys have a YouTube channel, we always ask, if you don't mind, just heading on over to our YouTube channel and subscribing. That way it just helps grow our channel. That's one of our big platforms outside of radio. We're trying to continue to grow that. So if you guys have a YouTube channel, man, head on over to ours at the Miller's Edge. Subscribe, hit that follow button or subscribe button, all that stuff. You guys know, notification bell that reminds you when we post. I'm starting to post more videos too. I'm starting to take clips from shows. That way, if you miss a whole show and you don't feel like kind of going through it, I'm just going to start posting. Like the interview we did with Clint Lamb, I'll just go ahead and clip that probably. Go ahead and post it. So make sure you guys subscribe on YouTube, and we can do that too. Wait, Bam said we can do it too. Wait, what is it? What is it you guys can do? You talking about music? Justin, you make music? Or you guys make music? Is that what it is? Yeah, let me type it here. Let me type our email. Let me make sure it's the right. It should be the millersedge@outlook.com. If you guys got any requests or anything, you can always hit us up there. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Wait, intros. Yeah, let me know. Man, I made a little simple one, but the music that I used off of Canva was copyrighted. It was weird. millersedge@outlook.com. Yeah, that's our email if you guys ever want to hit us up there, or if you have anything that you need, the millersedge@outlook.com. But yeah, we got that title sponsor open, which is like the first time in like 3 years. So we have other sponsorship opportunities too, but that one's the big one that hadn't been open in a while. So say something. I know it's not the right platform, but you can be both a lifetime Roll Tide fan, please. Wait, make Alabama greener. Wait, you talking about like the environment? I'm not 100% sure. If you're talking about the environment, heck yeah, I'm with that, man. Always for improving the environment. I don't know if that's what you're referring to, but that's probably not what you're referring to. That's just when I think about making something greener, I'm thinking the environment. Don't have to swap. Wait, I'm confused, man. I'm not gonna lie, Calvin. You might have to elaborate a little bit on that. But anyway, I'm probably gonna get out of here. Appreciate you guys. Be back tomorrow. Oh, tomorrow we got Retinal Boshan. See, that's why we needed to record the previews. That's what I'm saying, man. Like everybody else gets to record these previews, man. They don't. We got Retinal Boshan tomorrow, and I forgot to mention it on the show. And that's why it would have been nice to record a preview. That way, at least our radio listeners would have a heads up. But yeah, we will be joined by Retinal Boshan tomorrow, former Alabama basketball player, and we'll talk some basketball as the Tide will travel up to Chicago on Friday, face Michigan. So we got that, and I believe we should have Gray Robertson tomorrow too, unless something comes up and we have to move him around. But yeah, we'll have a few guests on. It'll be good, and look forward to doing it then. But until then, y'all be safe, y'all be easy, and we'll see you guys tomorrow.